Look, hold on. Let me take my jacket off real quick.
Okay.
This is going to be good. Look, I'm going to be a little flamboyant with this because this is almost like spilling tea. This is like international tea. Like, girl, let me tell you.
I'm so
All right. I know you're excited. Look, let me tell you. All right. Hold on. Now, I want you guys to see. Wait a minute. JB, get it together. Get it together, JB. All right, hang on. I'm going to show you guys who Ibrahim is. Oh, this guy. This dude. You're going to be like, what?
Oh, no. Yes.
Look. Okay. So I'm going to share this really quick. And this is the new president of Burkina Faso. Now, if anybody knows, Burkina Faso was a country that was ran, and the name was actually given Burkina Faso by Thomas Sankara. And Thomas Sankara was called the African Che Guevara. So you know where this is going. And I know you said that you also are a Thomas Sankara fan. What did Thomas Sankara mean to you?
Oh my God. He's just, the revolutionary leader that he didn't have any of that machismo, sexism attached to him at all. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that, you know what I mean? His fight for women's liberation alongside his own was so beautiful. And, I think just the fact that he nationalized so much, everybody, he made sure the literacy rates went up. Every child was vaccinated for, communicable diseases. He even made sure that the government had to downgrade the vehicles that they were driving. He was just an inspirational revolutionary leader, and just I don't know, he was really hot too. I'm just because he was dedicated. That dedication was so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I have relatives who were like, oh, did you hear about this? And it's this quote about him, women holding up half the sky. You know what I mean? And I'm like, do you know who that is? He's a revolutionary socialist leader, and he did this and he did that. And so yeah, I'm so excited about what's happening right now, because I've been saying for a while now that actually France owes Haiti reparations because they taxed them, they stole so much from them. And so for things to be happening, everybody's like, oh, we should be like France. Oh, we should be like France. And I was like colonizers, or what? Or you just want better benefits? You know what I'm saying? Because I've been I make it difficult for people. But yes, I'm excited that Macron's losing his shit right now. And the Thomas Sankara inspired, you know what I mean? That movement didn't die. There's so much happening right now, but I'll let you get to it.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. You whet everybody's appetite with that one. Let's get into this. So let's get into this gentleman's statement. He is the new president of Burkina Faso. So let's take a look at what he says, and I'll pause to read so that if you're listening on the podcast, then you guys can know exactly what's being said. Said Africa is a continent. And how is it that our heads of state are crossing the world to beg? These are questions that we ask ourselves, and now we have no answer to so far. We have the opportunity to forge new relations. I hope that these relations be best to give a people future to our people, to give a better future to our peoples. As for Burkina Faso, today we have been confronted for more than 8 years with the most with the most barbaric, most
Manifestation la plus
violent
barbare, la plus violente du néocolonialisme,
form of neocolonialism, imperialism.
de l'impérialisme. L'esclavage
Slavery still has to impose on us.
tend encore à nous imposer.
Sounds kind of like us, Delilah.
Oh no, yeah, I'm like, where do I get a poster? 'Cause I'm so glad. I'm glad because it's not just Burkina Faso. Like he's right. He's building these relations, and the imperialist nations are flipping out over it, and I love to see it. I love to see it.
So let me show this as well, so you guys can hear this. Look, it is going down in Africa, in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. It is going down. I'm telling you. Look, y'all need to start getting excited because I am.
We're gonna get to see the revolution in real time.
Ooh!
You know?
Telling. All right, let's listen.
Au nom de nos plus hautes autorités, j'ai l'insigne honneur de donner une lecture du communiqué conjoint numéro 001 du Burkina Faso et de la République du Mali. Communiqué.
This is in French. I don't speak French though.
Is this Assimi? Huh? He's from Mali, right? This is the guy from Mali?
Yeah.
So I know what he did.
So he's basically saying official announcement of Burkina Faso and Mali to join forces with Niger.
That's right.
So those three nations are actually joining forces. So let me get to this thread. This thread explains a lot. So let me grab it really. Okay. So Ibrahim Traore, that's the gentleman that I showed you guys first. I'm going to read this thread. This is going to be interesting. So just to give you a background of who this guy is. So yes, he did lead a coup in Burkina Faso, ousting their current president. The current president is basically a puppet of the West. And so this is the thread. It says, homeland or death, a threat on Burkina Faso under Ibrahim Traore. It says, on September 30th, 2022, a coup d'etat took place in Burkina Faso. Paul-Henri Damiba, an interim president who also had came into power via junta, only 8 months prior, was deemed unable to address the ongoing Sahel insurgency in the country and ousted. Now, Delilah, if you need to interrupt, just feel free to interrupt and talk about your thoughts while I'm reading. It's cool. So he continues, says, Captain Ibrahim Traore would replace his former colleague, President Damiba, and become the world's youngest serving head of state at only 34 years old. This thread will attempt to list his biggest achievements in Burkina Faso since coming into power in autumn of 2022. So I can play this because it's in CNN. So
emerging through the turret of an armored vehicle was a 34-year-old self-appointed leader, Ibrahim Traoré, waving to joyous crowds. This military takeover is Burkina Faso's second in 9 months, after an Islamist insurgency continued to roil the country under the previous ruler, President Paul-Henri Damiba. Shortly after taking power, Traoré spoke with cabinet officials, urging them to move faster.
In Burkina, everything is urgent. Security, defense, health, social action, infrastructure, everything is urgent. We will have to go quickly.
Speaking to CNN in neighboring Ghana, professor and author Techiwa Menu said, the latest coup hurts the people the most.
Burkina does not have very great indicators of social and economic progress. So this instability is likely to worsen already poor indicators and blight the future.
When Traoré was welcomed into the capital by supporters, they were waving Russian flags and chanting pro-Russia slogans, rejecting any ties to France.
We call on Russia. Whoever is the president that comes to power now, he can't involve France. We don't want France anymore.
Mm.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
So
are you going to get to the part where they pushed out France? And
don't ruin it for me.
This is the best part.
Look, we gotta get to it. You gotta warm people up to it, Delilah.
I'm a straight shooter, okay?
I know. That's why I love you. But we hold up. Let him simmer for a second.
Okay.
Okay. So it says among the first steps taken by President Traore will be the appointment of Kaliam de Tambela as the Prime Minister of Burkina Faso. Tambela, unlike most figures in Burkinabe politics, is a familiar face to popular consciousness in the small landlocked state. Now, he says, Tambela, as a student of France during the 1980s, founded the Committee for the Defense of the Revolution to defend and finance the struggle waged by Burkinabe masses under Thomas Sankara, affiliated with communists at the time. Tambela, as a lawyer and author, would publish his magnum opus under the title Thomas Sankara and the Revolution in Burkina Faso, an experience of self-centered development. His own detailed account of the Burkinabe Revolution as led by Thomas Sankara. As while invoking Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, and Franz Fanon in the academic realm, Tambela would initiate his premiership with 50% cuts to the salaries of government ministers. Reiterating, Burkina Faso cannot develop outside the line drawn by Thomas Sankara. Basically, he is kind of like an acolyte or a supporter of Thomas Sankara. Girl, let me tell you, this is oof. Now, here's the point. It says, meanwhile, President Traore himself, refusing to take any presidential salary, remains on the same income he has had in military captain in order to show his spirit of sacrifice, which must inhabit each Burkinabe in the current situation of the country. Your thoughts?
It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? This country has enough of their own resources. If they only stop neocolonialism, they can thrive and they can be a stronger people. And that's really, you know, I think it's very rare. I mean, this is probably one of the most recent socialist uprisings that we are able to witness. I'm very excited for what's happening. For so long, you know, well, I'm here for African liberation, okay? I think, you know what I mean? I think that the socialism and the economy and the people being provided for and everybody having what they need is the bare minimum that every country should strive for, you know?
Miguel is funny. MAGA, make Africa great again.
Whoa.
Oh, that's gonna make him mad.
Well, you know, and then you're gonna hear these pundits saying that this isn't a bad thing. Like, you know, it's like how they frame China. Like, but at what cost?
At what cost?
The cost of people surviving pandemics, the cost of people having all their needs met. What? Why is this a bad thing? No, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. Now, let me continue here. Man, this is a long thread. I can't read it because I'm only on number 8. But I'll get to the gist of it. It says, simultaneously, President Traore remains faithful to the will of Burkinabe masses to follow in the footsteps of Mali under President Assimi Goïta, whose decision to withdraw Mali as another puppet of the French Précaré is causing shockwaves in the region. There he is on the left. I'm sorry, on the right. It says, the liberation of the Malian masses under President Goïta represents an alternative future for the states of the Francophone. Additionally, Mali has taken some measures to ban French state media such as France 24 and Radio France International until further notice. So they kicked out French media in Mali. Because this policy has held sway in Burkina Faso, With a correspondent from France 24 summoned before the Burkinabe Council of Superior Communication, any definite conclusion from these tensions remain to be seen given the ongoing nature of the dispute. So this basically means what's going on is that France is being kicked out. And there's also unification with Russia. It says today, various grassroots Pan-African and patriotic organizations are calling for a closer relationship with Russia as emerging power, which, unlike France, has no history of covert regime change, monetary slavery, and economic subjugation on the continent. So people will say, "Oh my God, Russia is such an imperialistic nation," when in reality, that's just projection, because what African state has Russia actually done that against?
And forgive me if I'm jumping ahead again, but I do think I read that Vladimir Putin forgave some of the debt of these nations. The U.S. would never. They would never be, you know what I'm saying, so gracious. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, if you're pro-Russia, you're against this. And it's like, it's really not like that. It's really about everybody realizing that we have very limited time for action.
Mm-hmm.
We have very limited time to secure futures for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't think, not that I applaud censorship, but you have to understand the France media is going to be pro-France. They're going to frame this all, you know what I'm saying, the way they need to. And so I think that it was, a smart call on their behalf, because that it will definitely raise the alarm of, the whole world, global media. Oh, no, they kicked out France, and then you're going to get more attention to your cause. That was a very clever move, I think.
Yeah. And here's one of the big ones I wanted to show you. This is going to be interesting. So it starts off right here. It says, besides the direction of Burkina Faso under President Traore, can also be evaluated by this adamant support for a radical federation of African states with the phrase United States of Africa, entering popular lingo on the streets of Ouagadougou. I hope I said that correctly. Says around the same time, the French military withdrawal has been successfully fulfilled. Prime Minister Tembela met with neighboring President Goita and other Malian authorities to express their desire for unity among respective populations. He says, Tembela says, we are considering a federation today. This is our medium-term objective. We need everyone's support in this, because as long as we remain isolated, we are fragile. The Malian Burkina Faso Federation will continue a much more decisive striking power. And this is the flag. Furthermore, Tembela qualifies his use of the term federation with reference to example of the Mali Federation, during which Mali, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Benin have attempted but failed to form a unitary state during the latter half of the 1950s. And so basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to unite Africa, which is what Muammar Gaddafi tried to do back then, which led to his death at the hands of people like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. And so now this is coming back up. And so now they're saying, no, we're going to unite Africa and we're going to use our resources for ourselves instead of you guys extracting our resources. So this is getting real in Africa.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. They stopped exports also, which is important to, I don't know if you mentioned that when in your breakdown, but these nations stopped exports of minerals and things like that. Usually it's the United States that puts economic sanctions, but in this instance, with their unification, they're able to say, well, actually, we're going to keep our own resources. So how do you feel about that, Wes? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? How do you feel about that?
So this is out of the International. It says France has the 4th largest gold reserves in the world thanks to Mali's gold mines.
Yep.
So look at this. France has no gold mines, but they have over 2.4 tons of gold reserves, but no mines. But then Mali has 860 gold mines, but no gold reserves. Make that make sense.
You know how it makes sense. Capitalism, colonialism.
And so that's what's happening in Mali. This is why, Mali's like, you know what? Get out, France. France is like, well, we're not going to send you guys aid anymore. Mali's like, motherfucker, we don't need aid because we got the money. We got the money. You don't. I'm sorry. I hate to curse like that, but it's like, y'all ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
Without us, what do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. France is look, these African countries are showing France where they can shove it.
Yep.
And this is also another one. I can't read this entire thing because I don't think I'm going to have time. But this is out from the African Communist, their Twitter. This is their Twitter account, and they show the countries, primarily the Francophone countries. Francophone countries basically mean countries that were colonized by France, that they're French-speaking countries. So all the Francophone countries are ones that are in blue. The ones that are in teal are part Francophone, and then the ones in gray are other. So if you look here, you look in countries like Burkina Faso, and you look in countries like Niger. Look, you say Central African Republic, they say bye-bye. So it just goes to show that they're saying, yeah, no, you can get out. But this is also dangerous. And I'm going to tell you guys why it is dangerous. Because one of the things that is an issue is that there's also a pipeline. It says, if the situation in Niger is not stabilized according to the standards of the West, there will be nothing for the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline, which, according to the contractor's plans, was supposed to supply the EU countries with as much as 30 billion cubic meters of Nigerian gas annually. So they were trying to bypass Russia because Russia was supplying gas to Western Europe. And now they're like, okay, well, we just get it from Africa. They're like, no, you don't. No, you don't. So here's Nigeria and here's Niger. And they're trying to go through Niger to Algeria, up through Morocco to get into Eastern Europe. I'm sorry, Western Europe. And so they're like, yeah, no, you're not doing that. We're gonna. France cannot be in our country no more. You guys are out.
And anybody who goes to take military action against Niger, all of these countries have a unified response. They're gonna treat it as a terrorist threat. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna treat it as a military threat, and so all of them being unified behind that is very significant right now. And I think it means a lot. You know what I'm saying, for the military to say we're all unified against these threats, these capitalistic enterprises, global threats that are coming and trying to steal all of our resources. We're going to treat them as if they are the criminals. And I think that that's very, it's the only good news I've had in a while. Like, I'm so, it's lovely to see this. I think they just recently, I think Algeria also signed on with the United African Nations.
Yeah. Of course, the United States had to, stick their grubby little head in and say something. Antony had something to say. It says the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had stated that the removal of Niger's president Mohamed Bazoum last week put Washington's security cooperation with that nation in peril. The legitimate okay, hold up. Legitimate. The legitimate democratically elected government must be reinstated immediately. The U.S. has various military installations around Niger, including the enormous $110 million drone facility in Agadez, which was the largest base construction project in U.S. Air Force history. So, of course, they're going to condemn the coup.
Of course, Joffrey.
Yeah.
We are the legitimate puppets. We are. Like, if you have to say it that loud, they're really not legitimate after all, then are you?
Yeah, not really. Not really.
So this is perfect because the U.S. is always, you know what I mean? They can't put their money where their mouths are. And Africa's got them running for their money. And France, you know what I mean? Because of course the U.S. is going to be like, oh, well, of course we want to prop up colonialism. We have to support France right now. But it's like, that's not the humanitarian response that's needed right now. You know, when you really, like, however you want to say it, there's a lot of people who are just, they only digest, you know, the propaganda. They may have questions, but it's like, if you look at it from a humanitarian aspect, they're just trying to take control of their resources. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I want to show this video really quick as well. This is going to be really good. This is about Mali. So let's go.
Here is your latest Africa news. Mali has just dropped French as its official language. Mali has taken a significant step in reshaping its identity as an independent nation by removing French as its official language. Move that comes more than 6 decades after gaining independence from French colonial rule. The decision was recently enshrined in the country's new constitution, which was adopted this year. The Constitutional Court of Mali validated the final results of a June referendum on the draft constitution, with an overwhelming 96.91% approval from voters. As per the new constitution,
91%?
Nice. Beautiful.
91% among voters said, yeah, we don't want French as our official language anymore.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I think we barely got 87% for Medicare for all. You know what I mean? Among voters, like, that's amazing.
Like what if Puerto Rico, Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, Chile, what if all those countries suddenly said, you know what? Spanish will no longer be our primary language. Out with Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Or what if the United States, Canada, Jamaica, Virgin Islands, what if we all said, yeah, English won't be our official language anymore? I didn't do that. It just went straight to.
I love it. Look at his face. Oh my god.
Oh Lord, this is hilarious.
I love this.
Let's continue.
French will still retain its position as the primary working language in the country for the moment, till other alternatives are made available. However, a noteworthy change is the formal recognition of the 13 national languages spoken within Mali as official languages. This recognition signifies a long overdue acknowledgement of the linguistic diversity and cultural richness that exists within the nation. Moreover, the new constitution retains an additional 70 local languages, including Bambara, Bobo, Dogon, and Minyanka, some of which were previously granted national language status through a decree in 1982. Preserving these local languages reflects the government's commitment to nurturing the unique heritage of various regions within Mali.
Let me ask you this, Delilah. How would you feel if the languages of the indigenous nations in the United States were, preserved? Because I know a lot of those languages were lost because of colonialism.
So I can speak a little bit on the fact that Nahuatl has been spoken throughout South America and Mexico continually. So there's a lot of work in restoring that language and making it more common. There's a lot of people doing a lot of really good work to make sure that this language is preserved and it's still used and it's still intact. It's older than Latin and Spanish. I can speak a little bit about that because I'm very involved with the learning and the teachings of that, because when you speak your native tongue, you say words that your ancestors spoke, it brings you that much closer to your cultural ties and your identity. So it is very important. But on the other hand, we have places, people, these neo-colonial structures, especially the education system in the US, there are people who have pretty much stolen language and gatekeep it away from natives and indigenous people in this country. So there's some struggles right now trying to make sure that the people who are sharing this knowledge are not being exploited. You know what I'm saying? And they're not being kept from teaching that knowledge to others. There's been a few instances where these academics have stolen languages and tried to keep them for themselves and profit off of those languages and the teachings versus, support the tribes where the knowledge is coming from. So that's another issue. As far as preservation goes, let the people preserve it as they wish and at least recognize it,
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that as well. I appreciate it. Let me continue.
Mali's interim president, Assimi Goïta, declared that the implementation of the new constitutional framework marks the inception of the Fourth Republic in the former French colony. This significant moment signals Mali's renewed path as an independent and sovereign nation. The decision to remove French as the official language also reflects the evolving dynamics in the relationship between Mali and its former colonial ruler, France. In recent years, there has been a noticeable surge in anti-French sentiment across France's former West African colonies. This sentiment has been fueled by France's continued exploitation of its former colony. France's decision to withdraw its troops from Mali in August marked the end of a 9-year military operation aimed at combating armed groups in the region. The withdrawal further impacted the bilateral relations between Paris and Bamako, leading to a halt in development aid to Mali and the cessation of operations for NGOs and aid groups funded by France in the country as punishment for the rebellion. In conclusion, Mali's decision to remove French as its official language and the formal recognition of national and local languages within the country represents a crucial step in asserting its cultural identity and linguistic diversity. This move comes amidst a period of political transformation and rebuilding, as Mali looks forward to the establishment of a new democratic era. As the nation embarks on the journey of the Fourth Republic, it stands as an example of asserting national sovereignty and promoting linguistic and cultural heritage.
And that's the point, right, Delilah? It's sovereignty, national sovereignty among themselves, it's self-determination.
Yes.
And it's like, why is that a problem? And if they want to get rid of the dogmatic religious elements within their own country by their own means, let them do it themselves. And honestly, if they want to, let them have their own self-determination. Let them use their own resources, like their own gold, in order to enrich their country so that they can build up their means of public safety within their borders. Why does the West have to interfere and say, oh, we'll come and protect you? It's like, we don't need your protection. We got the gold to pay our people. We don't need you.
Yeah, it's always under the guise of peace and democracy, but really it's about, holding power over resources, holding power over people. And that's, this is why This is why we say land back. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not gonna legislate and like give us favors for us to be able to continue on with our survival. That's not enough. You know what I'm saying? We have to be able to determine what we want to do with our resources, what we want to do with our land, how we want to continue our culture. And all these new colonial powers are just greedy, really. You know, you think about all of the wealth and the individuals who hold that wealth. Of course they have ties to France, or they have ties to the US or Canada. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where a majority of the theft has happened.
Yeah. And it's just like with, the West, they always have something, negative to say because it goes against their, hegemony. Like, for instance, NPR saying supporters of Niger's coup march, waving Russian flags and denouncing France. They make it sound as if, oh my God, these supporters, they're being duped by these people, and they say Russian mercenary group, the Wagner Group, is already operating in neighboring Mali, and Russian President Vladimir Putin would like to expand his country's influence in the region, but it's unclear whether yet the new junta leaders are moving towards Moscow or stick with Niger's Western partners. The thing is that, I mean, from what it looks like, they are going to be more sympathetic to Russia, and it's just like what you said. Vladimir Putin forgave a lot of debt from African countries just recently.
Yes, and that's where it's like peace talks don't really mean anything if you are still oppressing the people that live there.
Yeah.
You can have meetings like the global, economic forums and things like that. All of this is in real time happening, and you've got the president of Russia saying, we're going to forgive debt. No other Western leader, you know what I'm saying, would be willing to be humble enough to make that dedication to other people and other nations in order to foster peace. So exactly. 2.3. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Yep, 23 billion debt for Africa. He writes off. It says Vladimir Putin, Russian president, says the Russian government has written off the $23 billion in debt burden off of African countries. Putin spoke at the plenary session for the ongoing second Russia-Africa summit in 2023, holding from the 27th to the 28th, so last week. He said Moscow will allocate an additional $90 million for these purposes.
Nice.
Putin said Russia was advocating expansion of representation of African countries in the UN Security Council and UN structures. He said Russia and Africa strive to develop cooperation in areas and strengthen honest, open, collective partnership. Russia will also assist in opening new African embassies and consulates in Russia. So my thing is like,
we could have done that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Years ago. We could have tried. We could have been, you know what I mean, more than just talk.
Well, I mean, look, China also forgave billions and billions of dollars in loans in Africa as well.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. And yet people will say, oh my God, they're trying to trap them via debt. And I'm like, what, you mean like the IMF and the World Bank?
See, this is how we're not going to get your channel monetized.
Maybe I'm already monetized, so I ain't got nothing to worry about.
I'm so grateful because, you need to have, I don't know, it's important. I think it's important to have truth tellers out there. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's willing, most people are willing to lie for money. Most people are willing to, not tell the truth.
Zoe said Mali and Burkina Faso just announced solidarity with Niger, and we'll see any foreign interventions in Niger as a declaration of war.
That part. Yes. I don't want people to go to war. I you know what I mean? I don't want there to be this huge military intervention, but I do think it's very brave for them to all be, collectively working together to make sure that their people have futures. At this point, I mean, there's been so many years of theft and colonial rule. You know what I'm saying? Even what was it? They just left in August. France barely pulled their military back. I mean, so what were you doing this whole time? We know what they're doing. So yeah, I think it's great. I'm excited. I'm watching the story very closely.
Now I don't want to, because I don't want to take too much of your time, but I still have my story regarding Grinder and then my rant I have to come up with. I'm not sure if you're okay to stick around or.
I don't know. Yeah, I could stay around for a little bit longer, but yeah, I gotta.
Okay. I'll make it quick. So one of the last things I want to bring up about this story is that there was a gentleman. I wish I can, go over this clip, but it'll go over a little too long. But one of the things he was talking about was the new president of Burkina Faso. He was in the military, and in countries like Burkina Faso and Niger and Mali, their soldiers do not make much at all. They make about $100 per month, $50 to $100 a month, versus a soldier here in the United States will make, $50 in 2 hours. That just shows the difference. So basically what he explains is that in order for you to be a soldier in Burkina Faso or in Niger or Mali, you have to be extremely patriotic in order to do that job. And so for someone like the president, Ibrahim Traore, it really is just about, patriotism and, being in that position. And now he is now the president of Burkina Faso. And he's also saying a lot of the same things that Thomas Sankara said. So it just goes to show that it's not actually, money that's being driven, at least that what we can know of right now. But really, the goal is really to build up the nation from the ground up instead of through imperialist forces. Just wanted to add that point.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think, I would probably just say it's more a dedication to the people than a dedication towards any, like you have nationalism in the US, which is concerning, right?
Yeah.
But then you've got national organizing in other countries, and you can see what a good collective organizing structure looks like. And it's not capitalistic. And that's a big difference.
Definitely.